Hey guys, Mr. Lloyd here, going to work with you on this video, May 4th, for video 3 here, and this is going to be a video where we go over how to create a histogram from this data table. So the paper we'll be working with is 8-2 class activity, and it's got this table of river lengths right here, okay? And our job is to take these river lengths and create this table, or excuse me, create this histogram down here. And I'm going to zoom in just a bit here to show you, before I talk immediately about how I got these bars and why I did what I did, I want you to focus up here. I just listed here some data that helps me set up my histogram. Now, I'm not expecting you to go and list all these things necessarily, although if you do, more power to you. But what I look at when I'm looking at this data set, the first thing I notice is we've got rivers that are 400 miles long. We've got a river that's 45 miles long, another one that's 169 miles long, and so forth. So we've got measurements that go from, kind of small to pretty big, right? They vary quite a bit. And so in order to, my job making this histogram is to really sort this out and to make sense of it, and to organize all this. And so these are just the thinking steps I take to organize this. This isn't something I would do every time I was creating one of these, but it's a good habit. It's a good thing to do, to just sort of think about, okay, well, what's my longest? So I look in the data set and I see, oh, the Roanoke River is 410 miles. So that's the longest. And I always like to know the shortest as well, or the smallest number in the data set. In that case, it's the Mobile River, that's 45 miles long. And it's nice to know the shortest and longest, or the, greatest and least in your data set. It's always just nice to know, because it's nice to know that range as you're setting up your bar graph down to the bottom of the page. It's nice to know how big, how small, how big the intervals need to be, and so forth. So it's just a good thing to get into the habit of. Then I start from the bottom and I think, well, what about the smallest rivers? I've got 1, 2, 3 of them that are less than 100 miles. And then I think, wait a second, these rivers, you go from 45 miles to a little over 400 miles. So if I do intervals of about 100, so if I go less, like 0 to 100, 100 to 200, 200 to 300, 3 to 400, and then over 400, that gives me nice 5 intervals. And it seems like if I think it through, I probably can figure out that there's some number of rivers inside of each interval. So let's take a look. 3 rivers less than 100 miles, that would be the Kanawha River, the Apalachicola, boy, if I messed that up pronunciation-wise, that's okay. And then the Mobile River here. So those are my 3 that are less than 100. There are 2 that are between 100 and 200 miles. That would, of course, be the Monongahela. Again, pronunciation, we're going to let it go. The Yazoo River, and that's it. So those are my 2 rivers that are between 100 and 200. 3 rivers that are between 2 and 300. Let's take a look at those 3 rivers. We've got the Potomac, we've got the St. Johns River, and the Illinois River. So those are my 3. My 4 rivers between 300 and 400, let's see, that would be the Hudson, the Sacramento, the Savannah River, and the Delaware River. So those are my 4 rivers. And then my 2 rivers greater than 400 are Roanoke River and the Connecticut River. So I do all this. Now, again, you don't have to write all these things down necessarily, but it's a good thing to do because it really helps me quickly create this bar graph. So, or histogram if you like. Okay, so I need to label. First thing we do with one of these is we think, what am I looking at here? What is this? The first thing a reader is going to look at when they look at your bar graph is your title. And so the title should tell the person what it is they're looking at. So this would be the length of selected rivers in the U.S. I say selected because this doesn't include every single river in the U.S. In fact, we live alongside a river, the Missouri River, that is not included in here. So that was a big giveaway to me. And there are plenty of rivers in Montana that are not counted here. But this is just a little bit of, this is just a sampling of some rivers. So selected rivers in the U.S., and this is, we're measuring the length of them. And we're grouping them by length. So the x-axis is the lengths of the river, and we're, of course, measuring it in miles. So we've got our 0 to 100 and 100 to 200. Each of these intervals is exactly 100. And then the number of rivers here, and what that means is, just like we counted up over here, we've got 3 that are between 0 and 100, 2 that are between 100 and 200, 3 that are between 200 and 300, 4 in between 3 and 400, and finally 2 that are in between 400 and 500. So once, the reason I listed all this here is that by listing that at the beginning, then when I go to actually fill in my bar graph and I decide how large to make each bar, it becomes really easy. I just glance up here. I see, oh, this one needs to be 3, so I make it 3, I color it in. Oh, this one needs to be 2, I make it 2, I color it in, and so forth. So it just makes it more manageable to do it that way. But again, I don't expect you to necessarily walk your way through it just like I did. But the point of this is to take this data table up top and create a histogram like this. Okay? You don't have to worry about the colors. I just chose that because I thought it looked nice on the paper. But you know, if you just have a pencil, don't worry about the different colors. I mean, it certainly looks nice, makes it a little easier that each bar kind of looks different with the different colors. But use the tools that you have at home. Don't worry about making it super fancy. Okay? So that's it for histograms today, bar graphs. We'll be continuing to work with these over the next few days. We'll continue to add to our knowledge about histograms and dot plots, and we'll look at other visual representations of these data. Okay, thank you for watching these videos. I will be seeing you guys on our Zoom class meeting tomorrow. Please keep these questions coming through our YouTube chats, through Zoom meetings, email, text, remind, phone call. Leave me a smoke signal, Morse code, whatever method works. We'll be happy to get in touch. And you guys take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.